So we're here on my M1 Mac, which has 16 gigs of RAM, similar to my Linux laptop. And we're doing a comparison between Kdenlive video editor and DaVinci Resolve. So there are a few main differences here between the two products. Kdenlive is open source, and DaVinci Resolve is proprietary. Although there is a free version of DaVinci Resolve, which is what I'm using, it is a closed source product. Ease of use as far as DaVinci Resolve and Kdenlive. DaVinci Resolve is a professional product, comparable to any of the other professional type video editors that you would come across. Kdenlive is more of a consumer product for casual or, middling users. I would consider myself a competent Kdenlive user. I don't use many of the functions that it has. I just use the basics, which is all I need for my YouTube channel so far. As far as performance, Kdenlive does not really have accelerated GPU support for rendering and so on. I thought it kind of did for some NVIDIA GPUs and Windows, but I haven't really tested that. So effectively, it does not have accelerated hardware performance for GPU for rendering. DaVinci Resolve does, and it's quite noticeably faster in that regard than Kdenlive. Features, generally, again, Kdenlive is more of a not beginner or intermediate user product. It does have a lot of features. It has, stabilization and color grading and chroma key, stuff like that. DaVinci Resolve has all of those and many more. It's a much more sophisticated product and consequently a bit more hard to get to grips with. Platform support, Kdenlive works well on Windows and Linux, with some limitations on Mac. I do have it installed on this Mac here, and it does work. It's fine, but it's not noticeably faster rendering or anything than it is on my pretty basic AMD Linux laptop. DaVinci Resolve works best on Windows and Mac, and it's got some challenges in Linux. There are a couple of Linux distros that will allow you to install DaVinci Resolve fairly painlessly, but otherwise it's kind of a hassle. So this is Kdenlive, and most of these linear video editors are similar in the way you work with them. There is a section for your media over here. Then you have a timeline where you would assemble your clips and, get them in the right position, move things around, do your cuts and editing and so on. Then there is some way to process the clips as far as dissolves or color grading, stuff like that, adjusting volume levels and so on. And then there's an output window here where you can see what you're working on. And then you would render the product eventually to some kind of format that you feel is compatible. Most of the stuff I do, all of the stuff I do is 1080p. I don't do any 4K stuff. Just because I don't. I don't feel it's necessary for the things I do, and I don't know that my hardware will be up to it anyway. So this is DaVinci Resolve. As you can see, it's fairly similar. Over to the left here would be where your clips are in the media pool. This would be your timeline here. There's your clip monitor showing what the current clip's doing. This would be your playback. And then at the bottom, you have the various sections. You go through the editing section, Fusion, which is the effects, there's the color grading stuff. Fairlight is an audio editor, and then there's the rendering part down at the bottom there on the right. So why would I want to try DaVinci Resolve if everything I do as far as my YouTube video is perfectly adequately covered by Kdenlive? And it is. I've used Kdenlive for almost all the videos I've done on YouTube so far, and I'm getting, fairly comfortable with it. So why would I want to do something more complicated and on a different operating system? Basically, to be honest, just because I can. Kdenlive is, as I said, I'm using the free version. I need to push myself to do different things. I find I've mentioned this before, as I get older, my brain gets mushier, and I have to keep trying to do different stuff to try and keep my brain a little more plastic. So basically, I don't need to use DaVinci Resolve, but I have this Mac, and I thought, well, let me slap DaVinci Resolve on it, see if it works. And although I'm still struggling a little with the Mac OS, just the different little quirks of it, the shortcut keys and things like that, I'm still learning that stuff. DaVinci Resolve was not bad. Not as bad as I thought, at least for basic stuff, the basic stuff that I do. If you were getting into actually editing a movie or something, I'm sure it would be insanely complicated. But for the things I do, all I'm basically doing is, assembling clips, putting them to an audio track, doing some dissolves, fades, that kind of thing. A tiny bit of color grading, not much at all. Only if a particular clip looks way off will I actually manipulate color, because I don't have the eye or the talent for it. So I try to stay away from that stuff. But as far as just using DaVinci Resolve in a basic way, it's not too bad at all. As I said, it's fairly similar. All these linear video editors are fairly similar in the workflow. So it's just a question of coming to terms with the little quirks that each one has. With Kdenlive, I probably use maybe 20% of the features, maybe even less than that, 15% of the features it has. With DaVinci Resolve, I'm sure I'm using like maybe 5% of the features it has. So I'm definitely on the beginner end of the scale, but it works well. I did do a video with completely with DaVinci Resolve on the Mac. It came out fine. I did notice one thing, which is it's not a bug, it's just a little quirk. And interestingly, I noticed it when I was looking at a tutorial from someone about Kdenlive. I just wanted like a quick, like, for dummies version of using DaVinci Resolve. And I found this one video from a guy who does those kind of tutorials, and he actually I noticed when I was listening to the video, the audio was only coming out one channel. And I thought, that's weird. And I went back and listened to the audio in my project that I was working on, and it was only coming out of one channel. And I thought, that's kind of strange. So the way I usually record the audio tracks is in mono. And apparently DaVinci Resolve, if you do that, at least under certain circumstances, it plays the audio back in just one track, whatever track it was recording, left or right. So it doesn't sort of duplicate the track and play it back in mono in both channels at once. It's easy enough to fix. There's a quick way to do it. But it was just interesting that guy who was putting out a tutorial had actually done that. So there are some little quirks, but the rendering in DaVinci Resolve is much, much quicker than Kdenlive. I can't give you actual times, but it's like an order of magnitude quicker, much more noticeable. The support is pretty good as far as codecs and containers and so on, MP4, MKV, that kind of stuff. I mean, I can always format shift using something like Handbrake if I need to, but some of the stuff is restricted as far as the paid version versus the free version. But generally speaking, the free version is way more than I would ever use under normal circumstances. I mean, if I was editing a movie, I'd probably want the paid version, but other than that, it's been pretty cool. So basically, Kdenlive and DaVinci Resolve can do the same things pretty readily, which is, in my case, simple stuff. DaVinci Resolve obviously will let you expand into more things. You'll be able to do 4K video more easily. Things like that. Color grading, if you're actually doing, sort of semi-professional and professional type stuff, it's definitely better for that. So I'm pretty happy. It let me learn something a little new. I got to, stretch my legs a little bit, and that's important at my age. I need to keep thinking. I need to keep trying. I need to keep doing other stuff. So just wanted to report on that. It was kind of fun to try. I probably will be doing more videos with DaVinci Resolve just to kind of get the hang of it, so I'm more comfortable with it. There was definitely a learning curve, but it wasn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be. So, well, thanks for spending some time with me again. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.